You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers today, but we have 1265 fan.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey.
1265.
What's up?
I am really getting sick and tired of this whole three-peat thing. I am so done with it. Why does everybody just disregard history? I don't understand that. This is how human beings get in trouble, is we fail to remember our history. If you want to say those Packer teams from the 30s or those Packer teams from the mid-60s, that, by the way, that three-peat in the 60s included Super Bowls 1 and 2, so how that's not part of the Super Bowl era, I have no idea. Apparently that three-peat doesn't count because 1 out of the 3 wins wasn't the Super Bowl. What the F ever? I'm over it. I wish human beings would remember their past. It would really serve them. It would really serve them right for today's day and age and the future. The whole disregard for history overall is just astounding to me. Our society can't learn unless you understand history. If you're going to totally disregard it, then you've learned nothing. You've learned nothing. You threw away everything that every human being before you learned. You understand where I'm coming from? All right. I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. The Packers have 2 three-peats. And if the friggin' Chiefs win the Super Bowl, they will be the second team with three-peats in their history. Second, because the Green Bay Packers are first, and we have 2. So nanny boo-boo, bye.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say it's slightly different, you can say it's slightly different. There were less teams, so it was easier to do. But, I mean, these asterisks are for everything. You know, I mean, it's kind of like when somebody breaks the passing record for the single season or whatever. It's like, well, do we completely disregard it because there's an extra game and a bunch of extra games compared to back in the day, back in the 60s, 50s, 40s? A lot more games going on. So should we just say it doesn't count at all and we disregard everything that you've done? Because we could do that, and that's what they're essentially doing to the Packers. I don't mind saying it's slightly different. And if you want to be hyper-specific and say first time a team has won 3 Super Bowls, technically that's true. 3 championships, it's the 3rd time it's happened. It's different, but everything's always going to be different. And if you want to put an asterisk next to it, you can. But, I mean, again, understand that there's going to be asterisks next to everything. I mean, we should just get rid of MVP entirely because quarterbacks today are so pampered and protected. You think Pat Mahomes would be able to do what he's doing if he had guys power driving him, head first into the ground? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Wide receivers breaking records when they got, basically carte blanche to run around the field without being touched. If anybody even breathes on them wrong, they get all kinds of penalties as opposed to what used to happen back in the day. Should we just disregard every single record after 1992 or something? I don't know. We can, but to just pretend that it's just settled science, I don't necessarily know about that. It's also funny how, people have all this great reverence for the NFL, and oh man, the NFL goes all the way back to here, and all these great historic teams and all that stuff, and it's like, yeah, man, Packers with that three-peat, like, whoa, no, football was stupid back then. Nothing counts. Nothing matters. Everything back then was dumb. The only thing that matters was football that started in the 90s, maybe a little bit of the 80s, but until they started like launching the ball down the field, with the 49ers back in the mid 80s, just launching it, football basically before that was stupid and didn't count. Like, you got to pick a lane here, folks. Either you have reverence for it or you have disdain for it. I don't know. I mean, again, it is different. I'll acknowledge that it's different. And it's harder to do statistically with more with more games and with more teams. So maybe it's a cooler three-peat, but it's still a three-peat. And what the Packers did was a three-peat. And yeah, this would be the second team and the third time that it's been done. Now, if they win and then do it a fourth time, then there you go. Then we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yo, Brian, it's your uncle, Rico.
What's up?
Just driving down the road, listening to the After Dark, and you said it a couple of times. Is it you say, "Here we sit, broken-hearted,"
Mm-hmm.
and then that's part of it. But then do you say, "Found a quarter"?
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah.
I used to have a buddy that would say, maybe I read this in a bathroom stall. Somebody said, I can't remember, "Here I sit, broken-hearted, had to poop, and only farted." So, I don't know what the found a quarter thing is, but I get that other thing, so makes sense.
It's the same thing. I don't know why it's a quarter, but it's the same thing. We always said found a quarter, then I farted. I don't know. It never even dawned on me that makes no sense until this moment, because it was just a thing we always used to say.
Sense to me. Rico is wondering, I don't even have anything to say, but I better say something Packers since I call it the Packers thing. The Packers, they rule. They're going to do some hard work this offseason, I hope, and figure out some things, I hope. And, yeah, Jordan's going to come back full force, regain his championship form. Yeah, I don't know anything else, buddy. Their defense, we're going to be in their second year. Our special teams are good. And I think the only thing holding back our head stuff that Christian's going to be out, but somebody will emerge. Somebody will take his spot. And like I said, Jordan, he has to come back to form. He has no choice. If he wants us to love him and hug him and squeeze him, he's going to do it. So, all right, then. Rico's going to go. Bye-bye. Rico out. See you, right. Bye.
Yeah, and I look forward to it. I'm looking forward to the resurgence. It's going down, all right? It's going to happen. Just don't worry about it.
Hey, Ryan, Beer Chief Benny here. So Myles Garrett requested a trade. And I'm thinking, why don't we just do it, man? Having him on the team instantly makes the team better.
Correct.
And two, Ryan Gutekunst said himself it's time to start competing for championships. Well, if he's really serious about that, then he'll go and get this deal done. He will do whatever it takes. No excuses. And I don't want to hear this whole thing. Well, the draft's in Green Bay, so they're not going to give up the first-round pick. I don't care about that. It's not like he's hit on any of these first-round picks anyway. And Myles Garrett easily replaces whoever you're trying to get in the first round. And, you think about we need corners, right? You get Myles Garrett that covers the edge, right? Then you can just use your second-round pick for corners and then do whatever else, like get offensive linemen and stuff and get depth there. So I just really think that this deal needs to be done, man. Like, just knock it off with this whole it's in Green Bay thing. Like, what does that have to do with it? Like, just freaking get the deal done.
Yeah, and I don't think that would end up being a major factor. My only question is the cost, because it's a question of, let's assume we're going to get somebody. is Myles Garrett the best value? Because, again, is it Myles Garrett and nobody else? Or could it be Khalil Mack plus this player, plus we don't have to give up our first-round pick? You know what I mean? I'm just saying, if we were to put together all the packages that the Packers could possibly end up with, there's this scenario, this scenario, this scenario, this scenario. Is the Myles Garrett scenario the best scenario? He's the best player, for sure. But is it the best total package? That would be my only question. But, yeah, Myles Garrett to the Packers would be franchise-altering. No question about it. Assuming he stays healthy and doesn't completely fall off a cliff for some random reason, it is a franchise-altering selection. You know, maybe it is a don't overthink it thing, you know? I don't know.
Hey, Ron, expounding on what I said, here's the thing. We've seen star players go for not much. We might not even have to give up a first round. I say we trade Lucas Van Ness for a 2026 second and third round pick. That'll about do it. We saw Brian Burns get traded for a third and a fifth. Like, come on, man, he's pretty good. So, again, no excuses.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be that cheap. I'm leaning toward a first round plus. I don't know if it's necessarily a full 2 firsts, but I mean, obviously that would get it done, or maybe first and a second. I don't know. First, second, and a player. I mean, Van Ness doesn't really have any value, so that, I mean, maybe a little bit, but not. That doesn't move the needle much. And then a second and a third. I don't know, man. Probably be a little bit more than that would be my guess.
Hey Ryan, Goose here. I was just playing around with some AI and had it run a little scenario of being Brian Gutekunst, and I just wanted to share what I got from it. So this is from DeepSeek, and it says, as the general manager of the Green Bay Packers, my approach to building the team for 2025 season would balance immediate competitiveness with sustainable long-term success, leveraging the draft, free agency, trades, and savvy roster management. Here's a detailed strategy. First, roster assessment and core philosophy. Identity. Maintain a balanced offense, play action, power run game, and an aggressive, versatile defense. Prioritize continuity in coaching and player development. Key strengths are Jordan Love, young wide receivers, and our edge Rashawn Gary. Our needs are offensive line depth, cornerback and safety reinforcements, edge and linebacker depth, running back succession plan, and the potential veteran wide receiver leadership. The 2025 draft strategy would be to target offensive line, cornerback, safety, and edge early. Round 1.
Offensive line, cornerback, safety, and edge? I don't know about safety so much.
It would really be looking for an offensive tackle or cornerback. Otherwise, it would prefer to trade back.
I don't know if we're going to go for an offensive tackle early, and we went offensive line last year, but it's possible. I don't really know what their strategy. Again, the issue that I'm having is I don't think the offensive line thing is tough. I mean, I think a lot of people would say, well, Rasheed Walker, we could do better. Okay, fine. But what are the odds if you draft a tackle in the first round, he's actually going to be better than Rasheed Walker? Pretty low, especially since you're not going to downgrade pass blocking. It's not going to happen. If he's a worse pass blocker but better run blocker, he's not playing. And Rasheed Walker is like a top 15 pass blocker. So you'd have to draft a top 10 pass blocker, basically, just like that, as if that's super easy to do. At any point in the draft, much less at the end of the first round. I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on that one.
And try to pick up more players in rounds 2 and 3, emphasizing value over reach. Part 3, free agency and trades. Strategic signings a veteran wide receiver target a cost-effective, high-character route runner, for example, Hunter Renfrow, to mentor young wide receivers and provide reliability in third down situations. Safety, pursue a mid-tier starter like Julian Blackmon to stabilize the secondary. Edge, add a rotational pass rusher. Cap management, restructure contracts of Kenny Clark, Jordan Love, and Jair Alexander to open up cap space. Avoid overpaying, prioritize re-signing homegrown talent, like extending Quay Walker early. Trade opportunities would be to shop for surplus wide receivers and running backs for day 3 picks. Roster management, lockdown. Oh, that's already been done. Extend Jair Alexander to maintain cornerback 1 stability.
3 minutes got him. There's a part 2 here. Here's what I'll say about AI has gotten a lot better, and DeepSeek is really good at this as far as, searching the web and whatnot. It used to be if you asked it a question, it would be useless, especially since it's like information from 2-3 years ago. Every time I'd ask about the Packers, they'd start telling me about Aaron Rodgers. So it's got significantly better at recent information. It's still a good idea to kind of get information. So it'd be a good idea to kind of start with breaking down the roster. What do we have? What did we do last year? Looking at the contract situations. Try to think of ways that would get it to not say what it shouldn't say. The fact that we got Xavier McKinney last year and drafted 3 safeties should push it away. So, look at, or maybe even just do it in steps. What are the biggest needs for the team and why? And then kind of prompt it to go to the next step and the next step or whatever. But let's take a break first, and then we'll come back and hear the second part of what DeepSeek thinks the Packers should do.
Goose here, picking up where I left off. Development invests in position coaches to maximize young talent such as Lucas Van Ness and Anthony Johnson Jr. Position-specific plans. Offense, O-line, draft a tackle/guard hybrid early. Re-sign Josh Myers if affordable. Running back, draft a mid-round power back like a Barleon Allen type to pair with Josh Jacobs.
It's another example of where if it just looked at our draft class last year, I don't know that it would be saying that. So we got the safeties last year. We also drafted a power back, basically, another Josh Jacobs type back last year in Marshawn Lloyd. But whatever.
Defense. Paired Jair with a rookie cornerback and sign a veteran safety.
Did that already.
Develop Carrington Valentine as CB3. Front 7. Add a mid-round edge and extend Rashawn Gary. I'm not sure what it means there. That would be a little silly to extend him now. And re-sign Quay Walker long-term. Long-term vision, cap health. Structure contracts with rolling guarantees and bonus-heavy deals to maintain flexibility. Culture, emphasize accountability, durability, and versatility, like defensive backs who can tackle and O-line who can play multiple spots. Contingencies, man, I'm tongue-tied. Prepare for Kenny Clark's eventual decline by drafting a DT in 2025 or 2026. And risk management, injury buffer, prioritize depth at O-line, cornerback, and edge. QB insurance, draft a late-round quarterback with upside like Joe Milton III, or sign a low-cost veteran backup. By focusing on the draft for foundational pieces, making calculated free agent investments, and maintaining cap discipline, the Packers can remain contenders in 2025 while securing their future. The goal is to maximize Jordan Love's window without sacrificing long-term flexibility.
It would be kind of interesting to kind of pit them up against each other a little bit to see what they come up with, just kind of build out the rosters. And see what they come back with. Could even do different mock drafts. I'm sure other people have already done that, but kind of let the different bots go ahead and do the mock drafts and see which one's best. Kind of interesting. But yeah, I think they got a little bit more to go before they're making a ton of sense, because that plan kind of sucked, in my opinion. TJ in Alabama, what's up?
Hey, Ryan, TJ from Alabama. Today was Myles Garrett telling he wants to get out of Cleveland, whatever. So by the time this plays, it's probably going to be, chopped up a million times, and it's going to be, not worth the question. But because it's fresh, I definitely don't think, one, that Cleveland will find a way to mismanage it. That's pretty much guaranteed. But really doubt that the Packers would offer the most, pay Garrett $37 million a year for whatever. But just hypothetically, Ryan Schlip. All right, you got to make a choice. We'll make it really easy. 2 first-round draft picks, just straight up. 2 first-round draft picks for Myles Garrett. But it can't be. If the question is not just do you do it or do you not do it. The question is, what would you rather? Packers give up let's say 2 firsts and a second. Packers give up 2 firsts and a second for Myles Garrett, or we don't do that, and Detroit gives up 2 firsts and a second for Myles Garrett. So, Packers give up 2 firsts and a second for Garrett, or Detroit gives up 2 firsts and a second for Garrett. You have to make a choice between those two, which way you go. That's it. Go Pack, go. Thanks. Bye.
Well, you're certainly making this a lot easier on me, that's for sure. I'm definitely giving up the 2 firsts rather than giving it to the Detroit Lions. And it's not entirely unfair of you to kind of pose that, because he's going to go somewhere. It could be to the, freaking, I don't know, Denver Broncos or something that I just don't care about. But it could be the Lions. There's a lot of talk about Detroit being in the market for that, and we would definitely keep them away. They would still probably end up signing somebody, though. So I could kind of pitch it back to you. Would you want to give up 2 firsts and a second for Myles Garrett, and Detroit gets your next, Max Crosby? Or would you rather the Detroit Lions get Myles Garrett and we get Max Crosby for less or something? I don't know what it would possibly be, but in your scenario, that's a very easy one. I would pay 2 firsts and a second to keep him away from Detroit and also have Myles Garrett.
What's going on? So, my firefighter, how y'all doing?
What's up?
Hey, just calling 2 quick things. One, the wide receiver in your mock draft is Eric Alamea. I couldn't say his name, but I talked about him like 2-3 weeks ago about getting a receiver in the second round, because I was saying it's not really a true number 1 wide receiver, like that many of them. It's like one dude that's going to be gone before we even pick, and then like a bunch of number 2s. But I said he could have been like, fast guy and could be like that type of receiver we needed, that we can kind of try to hope might be a number 1, but at least be a good number 2. So it's funny that you mentioned him. Anyway, that was the first thing. Second thing was, as you know by now, by the time you hear this, that Myles Garrett requested a trade, and then NFL.com did like a list of the top 9 teams, and it's funny because the Lions, the Bears, and the Packers were on that list. And the Lions being the number 1 team, if they got him, push him over to the edge or whatever. Yeah. And I'm sitting here having nightmares, oh my gosh, if that happened, and they have Hutchinson and him, oh wow, we better just run the ball. And there ain't no time we play the Lions, so that's gonna be crazy. But it had me thinking if the GMs for the Bears, which is obvious crazy, they probably sell out his future to get Myles Garrett, and the Lions have a lot of cap space or whatever, and are knocking on the door, same thing, that they could actually might get a chance to might try to get to him. So I'm like, dang, that's gonna have to put pressure on us. Maybe we should do the same. I don't want to risk too much of our future though, But I guess thinking about it, listening to your thing about Max Crosby, if we was able to get Crosby, if we didn't, wouldn't have to give up as much to get Garrett, having Crosby and Gary would be good. Plus, that mock draft that you did, I like the defensive tackle. That's probably like the best mock draft I've heard in a minute, for a long time. Like, I like, at least like your first five picks are on point. I 100% agree. Another bad thing, see if I can say it before time run out, is that there's not a lot of good centers in this draft. So I know it's a guy doing good at the Senior Bowl practice, but it's not that many. So if we don't get one in the draft, could you look up like some free agents that we could sign, this team overall, that could probably help us, not cost too much? All right, anyway, go back though.
Yeah, I think since your call, we did do the free agency episode, or maybe you missed it. I don't know what day we did that, but there's not a lot of options for center. Center's tough. It's almost it's not quite like long snapper, but it's like a specialty. There's a lot of tackles, and there's a good amount of guards, and there's some tackles that play guard, and there's some guards that could potentially play tackle. Center is a special thing, and then this year there's even less. True centers, and then as far as I know, even if you add in, guys that are multifaceted and play different positions, how many of those guys actually play center? There's just not a lot of options. Free agency, I don't exactly remember what we talked about, but I don't know that there's a lot that really had me doing backflips. Sorry for all the yawning. Jeez, I'm tired all the time. I'm just dying. But yeah, I like A.O. Manor. I want to get back. The fun thing about when you kind of get into that my guy territory, which I'm not officially putting him in there, but that was the first one that got me excited, is I want to go back and watch him again because it's just so much fun watching the guy. I really, really like him. So we'll see. I haven't checked in with him in a little bit, and I should probably do that. But got a lot of other stuff I got going on with the draft before I start doing seconds. I haven't even done firsts for most of these guys. All right. Sorry I didn't really answer your question super thorough, but there's not a lot of options, so I would just head over to, I think SpotTrack has a pretty good free agent list. Go check that out. But, yeah, it is what it is, and that's why I didn't mind the Robots' plan to re-sign Josh Myers. I don't mind getting rid of him either, but I could definitely see a world where that would make the most sense. All right, let's take our final break. We'll be back with Kyle from Madison.
What's up, Ryan? Kyle
What up?
from Madison, man? I hope you are doing well.
Doing good.
So is it fun to think about Myles Garrett and Max Crosby on the Packers? Oh my goodness.
We're getting both now?
Like,
jeez.
I just
Get
get
easy.
clickbaited. I don't even care.
Take it
I'm on
easy.
YouTube. Anything that's just like Myles Garrett plus Packers, I don't even care if it's Chat GPT garbage. I'm just watching it. Now, it's not going to happen, but it's sure fun, isn't it? Here's the thing that I want to ask you. So the Packers host the draft this year. The Packers as an organization are very much process-oriented, devotees of the process orientation. How much do you think the fact that they host the draft this year changes the calculus of reeling and dealing with draft picks, or not at all? Part of me is like, well, Gutekunst is a cyborg. He's going to do what he does regardless where the draft is. But then at the other side of me is like, but he's like human, and Ed Policy's taking over in the first year. And if you deal your first round pick, that's the first thing you do with the new president. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's just like, that's psychopathic craziness. But I don't know what you think. Like, do you think in Gutekunst's mind I don't think he's been given marching orders from the top. I really don't. But in his mind, do you think that plays a part? I mean, it feels like it would have to, right? You get something like that, and then you deal that pick. I don't know. But certainly, if that is the case, then we're definitely not going to be in play on Crosby. Well, certainly not Garrett, because I'm thinking that's going to take 2 firsts. Crosby, maybe you could do like a second this year and a first next year or something. But yeah, just want your overall thoughts on how you think the draft being hosted by the Packers, affects us. Because even just like a trade down that he might normally do in a given year out of the first, if he doesn't like the value there, I just wonder if that's, doesn't affect the process a bit, and whether or not it should, I guess, yeah, that's for people to debate. But all right, buddy. Bye.
Well, I would just go back to like who says no, right? Gutekunst's only goal is to put together a really good team, right? He is like a fan times 10 because it's his entire job on the line on top of, obviously being a fan of the team. So, what is Gutekunst's allegiance to the draft being in Green Bay compared to how much he, it's like, yeah, it's cute and all, but I don't super care. So then the only question is, how much is he going to let the feelings of Mark Murphy dictate things? Because this is Mark Murphy's baby. And does Mark Murphy even care that much? Right? Probably would like there to be a Packers pick, but he would probably also like Myles Garrett to be here and would like the Packers to win. So I just don't see a world where that's actually going to be a very serious thing. I just don't. The only thing that could possibly happen that would make any sense is Mark Murphy goes to him and says, "Don't you dare." Have you seen Mark Murphy? The guy's a giant goofball. He looks like a guy that's been retired for 5 years. He's ready to kick back with a beer, hang out, have a good time, and watch some Packers. He doesn't come across in any way as this mega prideful guy that said, you see him pounding his fist on a desk somewhere saying, "I put together, this draft, don't you dare." He's not doing that because we don't have an owner, which is to our benefit. If we had an owner, yeah, it would be concerning, right? Because this is all about his pocketbook. I put this together. This is a major event. This is Mark Murphy. He's not the owner of the team. This has nothing to do with his pocketbook. As far as he's concerned, he put together the event. The event doesn't get hampered in any way whatsoever. The event doesn't. He doesn't. I'm not going to say he doesn't care, but no, there's no way. There's no way. And Brian Gutekunst couldn't give a crap about the draft being in Green Bay. He doesn't care. All these festivities are for the fans. It's not for Brian Gutekunst. That's why they don't even go to the events. This is the first time that Brian Gutekunst is going to be in the city where the draft is. The Green Bay Packers stay in Green Bay for the draft. When you see that video of them in the war room, that's in Green Bay. They don't even go. They don't go to the festivities. They don't go to the events. They don't give a crap about all that stuff. So it's a nice thing for the fans. It's a nice thing for the city where they happen to play. But Brian Gutekunst is on a warpath to turn this into a Super Bowl contender. And he's not going to pass on Myles Garrett because then, we get 30 seconds of somebody going up to the front saying, "With the first pick, the Green Bay Packers select," and then there's cheering for another 10 seconds, and then we move on to the next pick. I don't think it's anything more than, that sucks. Which is exactly my sentiment. That sucks, dude. Of all the years, to not have a first-round pick, man, really would have been nice for this to be one, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't put it past them to say, look, hey, do you think we could work something out here? Maybe instead of a this year's first, which it's kind of a late first anyways, you know what I mean? What if instead of a 2025 first, we give you a 2026 first and a 2027 first? We'll give you those 2 first-round picks. And then, like a third-round pick this year or something. It's a weird trade that probably wouldn't take place. But it's like instead of a first and a second, what if we give you 2 firsts, but they're later ones? Which, to be honest, I don't even know if I'd want to do that if I was the Packers. But whatever. I'm just saying. I don't know who would be the one to put their foot down and say, no, I'm not doing it. And, as far as policy, he didn't put this thing together. And policy's thing is, he wants to be the one to come in and say, I won a Super Bowl. If you want to get a draft here, okay, you got the next, 30 years or however long you're going to be the president. Hopefully it's not such a disaster we have to find somebody else, but You got plenty of time to get the draft back in Green Bay or some other kind of thing. You just want to preside over a team that wins. And if you could preside over signing off on Myles Garrett, I don't think policy would care at all, to be honest.
Yo, Brian, it's your uncle, Rico.
Yo.
Hey, buddy. I just want to say amen to Beer Cheese Benny, saying that if we were in charge instead of Goody, us fans were in charge of running the team, what a disaster that would be. And the coaching as well. You know, we all think we're good coaches, and then the players, we all think, oh my Lord, what this guy stinks. You know, I could do that, you know, kind of thing. I mean, I don't think we actually believe that part of it, that we could actually throw the balls and make tackles, and, you know. But, amen, Beer Cheese Benny. I mean, I suck at my job. I've been doing it for way too long, and I try hard. I try real hard, but I'm terrible at it, I think. I mean, as far as parts of it, you know what I mean? I could do better. It's all these people that call in. That's what I think sometimes when people call in, or not necessarily even call in, just run their mouth podcasts and you know, tweets or whatever we call them these days. I don't do that, but I hear it from other people, you know, and it's just funny. I'm like, dude, you're running your mouth about how Gutekunst sucks and LaFleur sucks. You probably are terrible at your job. You're probably terrible at it, you know, let alone being top 32 in the whole world, the whole universe. You're the, you know, I mean, Goody, he top 32 GM of a football franchise, and I think so. Probably top 10, you know. Maybe he's number one in the whole world. And you got these people spouting off their mouths how he's doing it wrong, and they're like, there's 10 zillion people that do the job they do, and are they even top 10 zillion? Probably not. They probably suck at it. So that's pretty awesome, Beer Cheese Manny. Go, Pack, go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of see it in two different ways. You know, one is, you know, when people say, well, you couldn't make that tackle, which I hate that so much. Of course I couldn't make the tackle, but if I go to the doctor and I say, hey, I need surgery, and instead of, you know, removing my appendix, they chop both my legs off, and I'm like, bro, what the hell, I'm suing you, and they say, well, could you have done it? That's not a good answer. I'm not a doctor being paid to be a doctor who went to school to be a doctor, et cetera, okay? You are here to be able to, you're supposed to be able to do it. That's the point. And that's the point of the criticism. You're supposed to be able to, and you can't. On the other hand, some people do specifically say they can do better, and that doesn't ever come down to players, but always comes down to code, which is pretty funny. We know that we're not as good as the players. We know that. Although, you know, sometimes, like, even I could have caught that, which is fair, but still. Nobody thinks they can play in the NFL. I would venture to guess 50% of people think that they could be a GM or a head coach, especially a GM, because they don't think as much goes into it. I do mock drafts all the time, be super easy. Okay, well, yeah, maybe. It is funny, though, because I've heard what a lot of people say, especially people that are very unhappy with the GM, whether it's Gutekunst or some other team or whatever. It's the same fans that always want to do stuff in free agency. They want to give away all the picks. They want to get all the players. And every time you look at teams that do that, it's always the worst teams. Always the worst teams. So, I mean, the best we can do is the same thing we do with football players. Of course, I can't do that. But the point is, there is an expectation for what a football player should be able to do, and that's the standard I'm going to hold you to. There's an expectation for what a head coach and a GM should do, and that's the standard I'm going to hold you to. If the standard in your mind is we won a Super Bowl, otherwise the entire team, all the players, the coaches, and the GM are bad, you're stupid, and I have no interest in listening to you. That's not any standard that has ever been held by anybody at any point for anything. That's stupid. So when it comes to Gutekunst or LaFleur, I don't want to just pull the, well, you couldn't do better card, because that's not really the point. I couldn't do better than a lot of terrible coaches. But yeah, when people start calling in with we should have run this play or we should have done this or we should have drafted this person, it's like, okay, well, alrighty, I guess you would know better.
Hey there, Pack Daddy. It's Nate. Just wanted to call in because I was listening to your episode today, kind of talking about different trade options for receivers, Myles Garrett, and all that stuff. But there was one that you mentioned that just relit an old fuse for me when you mentioned that the Packers could, one of the opportunities could be to trade for DK Metcalf. I will punch a hole through my TV if they trade for DK Metcalf. Not because I don't want DK Metcalf, but because we had 3 fucking chances to draft him, and we passed on him every single time. I was screaming at my TV that year. Screaming, because as soon as he dropped out of the first round, I was like, oh my God, take him. And I'd be willing to bet that whoever we took with those 3 swings, I'd be shocked if one of them was still playing for us or producing at a high level, because I don't think that was a very good draft for us. Could be wrong. I don't really remember. All I remember is we didn't take DK Metcalf, and I am to this day upset about it. I know everybody's more you could have had TJ Watt over, Rashawn Gary or whatever. That's everybody else's biggest. My biggest one is DK Metcalf. We had opportunities to have him. And that's back when we had Rodgers and Devontae, and we could have actually had, the 2, number 1 wide receivers like everybody wanted. So, just wanted to give my thoughts. I don't really want us to trade for Myles Garrett. Think that's going to be too much, and there's no way I would give up 2 firsts for a guy of his age. Don't really care that he's elite, because he could stop being elite tomorrow at that age. So anyway, I would rather us draft some guys and maybe trade for one of the second tier guys. Go back out.
Well, I wouldn't be mad about it. I mean, if you like DK and we end up with DK, I think it's a good thing. We missed out on a couple of years, but we also probably missed out on a lot of the high cost for DK because he's not as expensive as he used to be. But yeah, that is pretty. Everybody's got a couple of those. Wanted to draft a guy, we didn't end up getting him, kind of thing. I was on the TJ Watt train, not because he's from Wisconsin, but because I watched him and thought, this guy is he's really good. But, everybody's got their own. I don't see why you'd be mad about getting him, though. That's all I'm saying. I think I'm going to leave it at that. We got one more Nate call, but I got to get going because I want to get going on the other podcast. So I will leave you with that. Get your calls in, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.